Well, leadership does bring with it power and a certain status within the community of those that you lead. And that brings new opportunities for sin that might not be available for a person who isn't in leadership. So on the one hand, leadership brings opportunities that are perhaps not available to others who are not in leadership. So leaders have opportunity to exercise power over individuals, to tell other people what to do, to determine whether or not they stay in jobs and their roles. So there's a whole variety of sort of elements of power that leaders have that others don't. So leaders have opportunity to exploit that power. Jesus spoke about how the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over others. Well, it's the leaders who have the potential to lord it over others. So there are some temptations that are only available because you are exercising a position of leadership. The same may be true in relation to money. Only by being a leader do you have access to donors, givers, the financial accounts. And the same may well be true in relation to sexual relationships. By being a leader, you may well have access to people who look up to you and respect you. And one of the challenges of leadership is that there are people who find leadership attractive and are attracted to you because of the leadership status that you have. It's not that you're personally more physically attractive than other people, but somehow your leadership status makes you attractive to others, and that opens up the potential for temptation. So there are certain aspects about being a leader that grant opportunity for temptation that aren't available outside of leadership. At the same time, for leaders, often leadership is a very vulnerable and lonely role. So something that perhaps you don't discover until you are in leadership is the extent to which you feel exposed and vulnerable. So leaders often have few people that they can turn to, few people from whom they can take advice. Often they are giving out to others all the time, and that creates a degree of vulnerability and a degree of need. And I think sometimes leaders can fall into temptation because of that sense of vulnerability, that sense of emptiness, that sense of having given themselves to others. So temptations can come often in those two forms. It's the abuse of power, but sometimes it's the vulnerability and the loneliness of leadership. And then temptation and sin look a very attractive way of gaining pleasure and fulfillment to make up for that sense of emptiness that goes with the loneliness of leadership.